Welcome to Are You Quizzing Me? I am Vineet Nair with my co-host Aditya Kashyap. This is a quizzing trivia podcast show. Join us as we dive deep into history, science, pop culture, and so much more. Let's get quizzing. And we're back for episode number 104 of Are You Quizzing Me? Your favorite quizzing and trivia podcast show. Stay tuned for an episode that is chock full of trivia. And so, let's not waste any time and let me start with the audience question. For those who came in late, the audience question is one that I ask at the beginning of the episode and the answer to which I reveal at the end. Hopefully you, our dear audience, can guess or find out the answer in the meantime. It's a very straightforward question, a little topical for today's climate. Which is the largest crude oil producer in the world? Let me repeat that question. Which is the largest crude oil producer in the world? I will answer this question at the end of today's episode. Let's start off the rest of our quizzing with Aditya. Aditya, kick off today's episodes with your question, please.
All right. So because it is our first question, I'm going to be taking a little bit of a liberty in how long-winded it might seem. But it has an interesting outcome nonetheless.
Okay.
And this particular story starts with a gentleman by the name of Marshall Pinckney Wilder. Are you familiar with the name or with the person by any chance?
No.
So, Marshall Pinckney Wilder was an American actor, monologist, humorist, and sketch artist. And he lived from 1859 and passed away in 1915. We are talking about the turn of the 20th century. Now, this particular gentleman, just unnecessary background, interesting information.
Okay.
He was also the grandson of a man by the same name, Marshall Wilder, who was an amateur pomologist and floriculturist. And the reason I found this interesting was I've never heard the word pomologist before.
Tomato, something to do with tomatoes?
It's a branch of botany that studies fruits and their cultivation.
Oh, okay.
Well, tomato is a fruit, so yeah, very fair.
Yeah, no, because I was thinking of pomodoro. Pomodoro in Italian is tomato.
Okay. I was thinking pomelo.
Okay.
Fair enough. Pomologist and a floriculturist who helped found the Boston Horticultural Society, which claims to be the oldest horticultural society in the US, and American Pomological Society, which is the oldest society dedicated to fruits and study of the fruits in America.
Okay.
So anyways, that is just very unnecessary side information about this man's grandfather who went by the same name. Coming back to Marshall Wilder, who was the humorous sketch artist and actor, he had two physical conditions. One of them was dwarfism and the other was kyphosis. I am assuming you know both of these.
Dwarfism obviously is related to height and kyphosis is a spinal disorder. As in, there's a physical deformity to the spine.
Right. Always very impressive when you describe everything that can go wrong with the human body potentially. But yes, it is that. And it just, by the way, is the Hunchback of Notre Dame, is that what it is? Is it kyphosis?
Yes, yeah. So the Hunchback, I think, technically had kyphoscoliosis. Scoliosis is when your spine curves like an S in one plane. It's parallel to the kind of plane of your body. And kyphosis is when you kind of hunch over as well. So if you have a curved spine which is also hunched, you call it kyphoscoliosis. Otherwise, if it's just one of those, it's either scoliosis or kyphosis.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for that additional trivia. So this particular man had these two disabilities, physical disabilities, dwarfism and kyphosis. Despite his physical disabilities, he still made a pretty decent living and lifestyle for himself. And an example of that is how he shunned offers by showmen like P.T. Barnum to instead become an established, legitimate stage actor and sketch artist. He appeared in motion pictures in 1897, starting from 1897 or all the way to 1913. First motion picture, he received $600. Okay, a lot of information. Told you about his life, how he made a great life for himself despite some setbacks to begin with. Now, this man, when he passed away, there was an obituary that was written for him in 1915. The writer of this obituary, Albert Hubbard, he wrote it and titled it The King of Jesters. He praised Wilder's optimistic attitude and achievements in the face of his disabilities. And this is where we finally get to the question, the final part which the trivia is. I told you all about his life. I told you what happened in his obituary, what was the tone of the obituary. This particular obituary is one of the first occurrences of a certain phrase, of certain proverb that has become very commonplace now. What proverb was this that was first used in the obituary for Marshall Pinckney Wilder?
I'm tempted to say something, but I don't know if it'll be politically correct to do so. So I'm gonna bypass that completely.
All right.
I'll just give you what I think may be the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Is it good things come in small packages?
Oh, okay. That's a nice wholesome way to look at it as well. But no, it's not.
Okay.
A little bit more generic than the fact that he suffered from dwarfism. Just the fact that he had difficulties and disabilities in his life and still managed to make a great life out of it.
Every cloud has a silver lining?
Sure. No, but something to do with how sometimes even when you're dealt a bad hand, you can still...
Oh, okay. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Hey, perfect. That is what it was about, yeah.
Oh, nice.
He was a walking refutation of the dogmatic statement, mens sana in corpore sano. This is I'm reading the obituary, which, by the way, that phrase in Latin means a healthy mind and a healthy body. So, Albert Hubbard in the obituary writes, he was a walking refutation of the dogmatic statement, mens sana in corpore sano. His was a sound mind in an unsound body. He proved the eternal paradox of things. He cashed in on his disabilities. He picked up the lemons that fate had sent him and started a lemonade stand.
Oh, nice.
And that is one of the first occurrences of the phrase, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant question. A little dark that I've used that phrase quite often, and I find it a little dark that it first appeared in an obituary. But nevertheless, a cracker of a question. I really like that one.
But also about somebody who was pretty impressive and
yeah, it is pretty impressive.
Seemed to have made a great life for himself.
That's a great question. My first question for today's episode has absolutely nothing to do with your question, except for the fact that the question structure may be considered somewhat the same.
Okay.
Listen carefully.
All right.
The Battle of Vienna took place at Kahlenberg Mountain near Vienna on 12th of September 1683, after the city had been besieged by the Ottoman Empire for 2 months. The battle was fought by the Holy Roman Empire, led by the Habsburg monarchy, and the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, both under the command of King John III Sobieski, against the Ottomans and their vassal and tributary states. The battle marked the first time the Commonwealth and the Holy Roman Empire had cooperated militarily against the Ottomans. The defeat was a turning point for the Ottoman expansion into Europe, after which they would gain no further ground. In the ensuing war that lasted until 1699, the Ottomans would cede most of the Ottoman-Hungary areas to Leopold I, Holy Roman Emperor. The battle is noted for including the largest known cavalry charge in history. Some 300 odd years later, the run-up to the battle, or the battle itself, was purportedly responsible for the scheduling of a major event, which...
Because the timeline obviously plays a big role, I'm just going to clarify. The battle was in
1683.
And 300 years later, it played a big role.
300 odd years later, don't look at the exact number, it'll be 300 and change.
Got it. So 1980s, 1990s, 1970s, something like that. That battle played a role in a scheduling thing that happened in the 1900s.
Yeah, I'm telling the 21st century.
21st century. Okay, got it. Fine.
So there's something that was due to happen. And they decided when to do it based on this battle.
Can you repeat that last statement again? Or the basis of the... I'm just trying to figure out from the structure of the question.
So I'll just put you the more important points. The defeat in the Battle of Vienna was a turning point for the Ottoman expansion into Europe, after which they would gain no further ground. In the ensuing war that lasted till 1699, the Ottomans would cede most of Ottoman Hungary to Leopold I, a Holy Roman Emperor. The battle is noted for including the largest known cavalry charge in history, and 300 odd years later, or 300 plus change odd years later, the battle was purportedly responsible for the scheduling of a major event.
Battle was responsible for the scheduling of a major event.
Yeah. Let me just say that when I say major event, may not be the right words to use, but at the same time, it's not wrong either.
Okay. Because whenever somebody says scheduling major event in trivia, my first instinct is a sporting event, a World Cup or Olympic Games. But I don't know how that would be related to this battle. I'm also thinking something along the lines of because Europe and Ottoman Empire, so maybe what is considered the boundary of Europe, and going back to the sporting thing, like sometimes you do it. Ooh, it could also be elections of. I'm just really shooting in the dark here.
Spitballing here, but yeah.
Secretary generals, because they try to do in different continents. So which part of is considered Europe, which part is considered Asia? Maybe that affected choosing the next secretary general. Though I have no idea who was secretary general at the turn of the 21st century. Wow, this is okay. I'll need some clue and maybe need some guidance here.
So there is no clue I can give you without giving you the answer. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to tell you the entire question once more.
Okay. That's a clue, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. God knows. The Battle of Vienna took place at Kahlenberg Mountain near Vienna on 12th September 1683 after the city had been besieged by the Ottoman Empire for 2 months. The battle was fought by the Holy Roman Empire, led by the Habsburg monarchy, and the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, both under the command of King John III Sobieski, against the Ottomans and their vassal and tributary states. The battle marked the first time the Commonwealth and the Holy Roman Empire had cooperated militarily against the Ottomans, and the defeat was a turning point for Ottoman expansion into Europe, after which they would gain no further ground. In the ensuing war that lasted till 1699, the Ottomans would cede most of Ottoman Hungary to Leopold I, Holy Roman Empire. The battle was purportedly responsible for the scheduling of which major event some 300 plus years later.
Interesting. Scheduling is what is throwing me off. Because now, when you said this, and it was the first time that the Holy Roman Empire was...
I'll give you one clue by changing one word in the question.
Okay.
300 odd years later, the battle was purportedly responsible for the planning of which major event?
Okay.
Of a major event.
Okay. Since there was scheduling planning, perhaps it might lead me to the answer that I was headed towards anyways, which is, I'm thinking of EU and the Eurozone or Schengen or something along those lines. Again, whether which country should be included in EU or Eurozone.
Oh, cold, ice cold.
Oh, damn, I thought I was very good. I was very proud of myself for that guess.
It's so cold that Vanilla Ice would go to the top 100 right now. With Ice Ice Baby.
That is absurdly cold.
Okay, let me just give you another clue. You are thinking about Europe and Asia, right? I would suggest that you change your geographical focus to across the pond, to use the phrase.
Okay. That 1699, 300 years later in the US or Canada or Mexico, I guess. I don't know. What was happening in the US at that time? That was the elections have happened on time. 2000 was the election. I have no idea.
Okay. Last and final time.
Okay.
I'm going to read the question once more.
That's not helping me at all. Give me the word that I'm supposed to focus on.
Just one sentence in the question.
Fine.
Which should give you a major clue, right? Okay. The Battle of Vienna took place... Okay. Excuse us, listeners. We're both devolved into babbling baboons. The Battle of Vienna took place at Kahlenberg Mountain near Vienna on 12th September 1683, after the city had been besieged by the Ottoman Empire for 2 months.
12th September? Like 9/11? Something to do with 9/11?
Finally. Yes. September the 11th.
What?
Yes, okay. Apparently,
what?
And there are many... Wait, listen, this was surprising for me as well.
Okay, sorry.
Some have proposed that Al-Qaeda chose 11th September 2001 as the date to carry out terrorist attacks throughout the United States due to the day's perceived significance as the turning point in the Battle of Vienna. According to Lawrence Wright, 11th September 1683 was seen by Al-Qaeda as the date when the Western world gained dominance over Islam. And the 11th September 318 years later would mark a rebirth of Islamic power.
Oh, wow. Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
They actually thought about when they're going to do such despicable actions. Very interesting.
So because the battle ended on 12th, but it was the events of the 11th that kind of turned the tide. So they considered that date as the day that the Western world gained dominance over Islam. Because the Ottoman Empire was quite big for a long period of time.
Yeah, makes sense in terms of the that is maybe the start of the end, or when it started receding.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that is fascinating.
Yep.
I always thought it was a very weird coincidence that it is 9/11, 9/11. I don't know.
No, that's just because Americans put the month before the date.
I know, but 9, which I would imagine that when somebody in the Al-Qaeda factions is planning it, probably didn't think of 9/11, would have thought 11/9.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Anyway, that could just be the coincidence part of it. But this is a very interesting and, well, surprisingly, you do have a segue because that is also pretty dark.
Yeah, it is pretty dark.
Pretty morbid, but undoubtedly interesting. Wow. I am genuinely impressed at how terrible, but yeah, and yet
there's a lot of planning that went into this.
Thoughtful this action was. Yeah.
No, because a lot of terrorist actions usually they try to have some kind of symbolic significance to it as well. A lot of terrorist actions are carried out on the anniversaries of things. Every September 11th, the security in the US is quite high, because if at all somebody was to attack the US again, the most symbolic time to do it would still be September 11th now.
I just realized that 26/11 is also the Constitution Day in India.
Oh, I did not know that. 26/11?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you said that every time they plan these activities in terrorist organizations across the world, they might have some significance to it. And 26/11, obviously, the attacks in Mumbai. And that's when I just thought about it. And I remember this piece of trivia that 26 November is when the Constitution was completed. They waited till 26 January to celebrate Republic Day for other historical reasons, because 26 January had been celebrated as some sort of Independence Day before 1947, as like, hey, this is the day that we are going to be independent. So they actually postponed our Republic Day from 26 November all the way till 26 Jan, because they wanted to keep that through line going.
Wow.
Even though we gained independence on 15th August, they were like, okay, let's reframe that. I'm not sure what it was called, but something along the lines of Independence Day or National Day or something it was called, I think.
Oh, nice.
They reframed the National Day to becoming a Republic Day. But interestingly enough, Constitution Day is celebrated in India on 26th of November. And that's when the Constitution of India was adopted in 1949. Exactly 2 months earlier.
I am ashamed to say I did not know about 26th November.
Yeah. And well, this could have been a piece of trivia. But now I'm just curious if that is how the terrorists plan the attacks.
Maybe. You never know.
You have just sent me down a conspiratorial rabbit hole. Now I'm going to go look at the dates of every single terrorist attack.
But before you disappear down that rabbit hole, Alice still needs you to complete this podcast. So let's get to that. And you can go to your question now, I think.
Okay, fine. So, because this would mean that I would have to take a brief respite from my work, which is this podcast, if I was to go do something which is not my work, like going down the rabbit hole.
Trust me, people, he was just about to fold a tinfoil hat for himself.
That does bring me to my segue, and that is about the work day for people and working hours.
Okay.
And this has to do with the 11 a.m. 11Zs, as it called, which is common to British factories.
Okay.
That is when workers would take a small pause and they would treat themselves to tea and whatever else that these English folks eat. And 11Zs, by the way, is also one of the meals that the hobbits have.
I was just thinking of that.
Yeah. Since we are doing random segues of trivia, do you know what are the meals that hobbits have?
Oh, I don't. I remember Merry and Pippin discussing that when they were on the way to Bree. I remember there was first breakfast, second breakfast, then there were 11Zs, and then lunch, and I'm losing track after that.
Pretty close. There's breakfast at 7 a.m., second breakfast at 9 a.m., 11Zs at 11 a.m., luncheon at 1 p.m., afternoon tea at 3 p.m., dinner at 6 p.m., supper at 9 p.m. Okay. But the phrase 11Zs comes from this particular practice in British factories where the workers would pause and have their tea and refreshments.
Okay.
This had been a practice since the early 1900s, right? How did a certain company decide to capitalize on this as a promotion gimmick for their product? What was it that they used to capitalize on this practice in British factories?
First thing that comes to mind is the time on watches and watch advertisements, but I think that's 10 after 10. That's 10 past 10 rather than something to do with 11. So,
okay, I think because the V-shape frames the name that might come in the center.
And the second hand is pointing towards 6, so it creates a very pleasing division of the clock face. Okay, so that's not it. What promotional thing? 11Zs. Something to do with Lipton and tea or something like that. Tea bags.
No, not quite. I don't know if this will help you, but let me give you a time frame. This particular gimmick, or let's say this use of 11Zs to promote a product started or can be traced back to May 1957.
May 1957 in the UK, post-war England facing severe rationing. So I don't think this will be a luxury product, working man product for 11 o'clock. Is it something to do with a watch or an alarm clock or something like that?
No. Okay, so let me give you some more trivia related to this particular product, okay?
Okay.
The name of this product, while this is a 20th century thing, the name of this product is traced back to the 18th century. And there was a club that regularly met in a tavern in Shire Lane in London. And it was hosted by an innkeeper, Christopher Catling. And he had a certain nickname. That nickname actually gave name to this product 200 years later.
Wait. What time frame are we talking about regarding this inn?
The inn is in the 18th century.
Okay.
The club, I did not name the club. The name of the club is also the nickname that the particular innkeeper had. And that nickname, or the name of the club, is what inspired the name for the product in 20th century.
I have an educated guess, but I'm not sure if this is, so I'm going to say one word.
Mm-hmm.
Is it got something to do with coffee?
You're in the roughly the right space, but it doesn't have to do with coffee exactly.
Because I remember when coffee was introduced to the English, there were specific clubs and people where people would gather together to drink coffee. Like it was like a communal exercise, and there were certain places which were famous for that. I'm trying to plumb the depths of my memory of the Empire podcast where I heard this last, but I can't remember anything more than this. Something related to coffee.
Okay.
But what was the nickname of the... Is it a brewmaster? Is it Iron Brew or something? Is it an Irish drink?
No. So this is not a drink. I meant you're close by, and when I said that, I meant like in the FMCG area.
Oh.
Something in the food and beverage space.
So which is why I was thinking of Iron Brew, which is, but again, brewmaster.
Okay, let me tell you, it's not a beverage, it's a food item.
Oh, it's a food item. The English tea Mari biscuits?
Okay, so I'm just going to repeat some of the key phrases like you did to me last time, and hopefully...
Oh, the tables have turned.
How the turntables, yes. I said a lot of things about the product, but one last thing which I have not said yet was that this originated, or this came up when an employee in the company suggested something that a man could take to work. So, dash that a man could take to work. That's the type of product that a man could take to work. I've not told you exactly what type of food item it is. So, dash that a man could take to work. Now, going back to some of the things that might lead you to the answer in the question already, I told you about the product name, which came from an 18th century club. The name of the club was the same name as the name of the innkeeper where the club met. The name of the innkeepers was Christopher Catling. What was his nickname, which was the name of the club, and thereafter became the name of the product. And the last thing, which was also the first thing technically that I told you, was the break that British factory workers take at 11 a.m., 11Zs, was capitalized upon as a marketing thing for this product.
Okay. Food product, something they can take to work.
Christopher Catling.
Christopher Catling, CC. I don't know.
What name could Christopher Catling, what nickname could he have?
The catfish? I don't know. The Chris is obviously too common for it to be anything. Crisp. Is it a crisp? as in chips.
Ooh, very close, very close. It's a type of crisp, not a chip, not a chip. It was actually, crisp is actually as close as it gets without getting to the answer.
Wait, Pringles cans.
Not a chip, not a chip, not a chip, not a chip.
Okay.
Remember, there are a few things that you can tie together, right? Okay, there's something that a man could take to work.
Okay.
A nickname for the name Christopher Catling is the name of the product. You know this product. Everybody knows this product.
Oh, is it a Kit Kat?
Kit Kat is the answer I was looking for.
Are you kidding me? Kit Kat is from Christopher Catling. Wow.
Christopher Catling's nickname was Kit Kat. Cat was spelled with a C-A-T.
And Kit is a very common short form of Christopher.
Yeah. It was called the Kit Kat Club, which used to meet in the 18th century. 200 years later, this was used to name the chocolate crisp, which is why I said you were right.
Oh.
Was given the name Kit Kat. And when they were trying to promote it, they're like, oh, something that a factory worker, a chocolate crisp that a factory worker can take to work.
Oh.
And when would he eat it? During the break. So have a break, have a Kit Kat.
Oh, nice. Oh,
yeah.
A very, very well put together question.
That is the first use of the tagline, have a break, have a Kit Kat. Eventually, the idea of taking a break and having a Kit Kat became so universal and ubiquitous that it was no longer associated with man taking it to work and taking a break from his factory work and eating a Kit Kat.
Yeah.
Now literally used in so many contexts across the world. But it started from practice of taking breaks in British factories.
Who knew that the cannibal of the snacking industry got its name from an innkeeper from 200 years ago?
Yeah.
And by the way, for those who don't know, the filling that you see within the wafers of a Kit Kat is crushed up Kit Kat, is excess Kit Kat which was used up later. So then you come up to the question, how did they make the very first Kit Kat if the filling is made up of crushed Kit Kats?
You know, I was going to add that as a piece of trivia, but I didn't think of this question. Wow, Vineet. See, this is why I love doing a podcast with you. You make me think of things I would have never thought of.
Yeah, which came first, the filling or the Kit Kat? But the filling is the Kit Kat. So it's an Ouroboros. It's a snake eating its tail.
Every single question is making me go down rabbit holes, Vineet.
Oh God. I have a beautiful question after you say rabbits and rabbit holes, but then it's too much of a giveaway. So I'll put it to some other episode.
Okay.
So it's a fantastically easy question for you. I'm fairly sure you'll get this immediately, but I just love the trivia. So this is just an excuse for me to spout this trivia to our audience.
Okay.
So which specific award was won in 1996 by Jacques Chirac for commemorating the 50th anniversary of Hiroshima with atomic bomb tests in the Pacific? In 2001 by Viliumas Malinauskas of Grutas, Lithuania for creating the amusement park Stalin World. In 2005 by Claire Rind and Peter Simmons of Newcastle University for electrically monitoring the activity of a brain cell in a locust while the locust was watching Star Wars. And in 2012 by Artura Zvokas, the mayor of Vilnius, for demonstrating that the problem of illegally parked luxury cars could be solved by running them over with a tank.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which specific award did all of them receive? Or were they all recipients?
Okay, I mean, the only answer that comes to mind is the Golden Raspberry Award equivalent for non-cinephiles, which has to be the Ig Nobel Prize.
Oh, very good. But I'm asking you which specific award. I knew you would get this, but I just want you to try and tell me which specific award this is.
I don't know the categories in the Ig Nobel Prizes. Though, interestingly, Ig Nobel Prizes are not always very ridiculous. Some of them are rather interesting and smart. And I think the category or the qualification is that it makes you think of something no normal person would think of.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sometimes it's actually very interesting. And things that have gone on to matter a lot in the scientific community have also won Ig Nobel Prize. But these sound hilarious. Locust watching Star Wars, luxury cars with tanks, Stalingrad, and what is the first one?
So Stalin World, basically an amusement park called Stalin World. And to Jacques Chirac for commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Hiroshima bomb by conducting underwater atomic bomb tests in French Polynesia.
Okay, that does sound important, I guess, even if destructive. The amusement park is what is throwing me off. Something to do with the opposite of peace, the ignoble not peace prize.
No, so it is the ignoble peace prize.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the ignoble prize has many more categories than the Nobel Prize.
Okay.
For example, in 2024, they gave awards for anatomy, biology, botany, chemistry, demography, medicine, peace, physics, physiology, and probability.
Okay.
And there have been 5 people who won multiple ignoble awards. None of them you may have heard of. And there's only one person who's won the Nobel Prize as well as the ignoble prize.
Right, I knew there was one person. Yeah, who is it though?
Sir Andre Constantin Guillem. He's a Dutch-British physicist.
Okay.
All these people won the Ig Nobel Prize for peace. Now, as Aditya mentioned, Ig Nobel Prizes are a parody of the Nobel Prizes. They are awarded in mid-September every year. They give these awards for achievements that first make people laugh and then make them think.
That is what it was. Yes, make them think after they've laughed. Yes, correct.
So, as you can see, it's a lot of fun. I would recommend going through the Wikipedia page for all the winners since they started giving away the awards. But I will take the time to tell you what the awards given in 2024 were. For anatomy, a huge group of people, 14 people, were given the award in anatomy for finding that scalp hair whorls are more likely to spiral in a counterclockwise direction in the southern hemisphere as compared to the northern hemisphere.
I've read this, yes.
My particular favorite in this particular set of awards went to Fordyce Eli and William Peterson for biology, both posthumously awarded for repeatedly exploding paper bags next to a cat that was standing on the back of the cow and finding that it caused the cow to produce less milk. In botany, 2 independent Magna and Utah-based researcher Jacob White and Felipe Yamashita of the University of Bonn for finding that certain plants imitate the leaf shape of nearby plastic plants and thereby concluding that plant vision is possible. In chemistry, to a team in Amsterdam for their use of chromatography to separate drunk worms from sober worms. And demography, and this is really good, to Saul Justin Newman for finding that supercentenarians, that is people over the age of 100, and extreme age records tend to come from areas with no birth certificates, rampant clerical errors, pension fraud, and short lifespans.
Yeah, I've read this somewhere. Okay, yeah.
In medicine, the award went to 3 people for finding that fake medicine that induces painful side effects can be more effective than fake medicine that does not cause painful side effects.
Oh, good God.
In physics, to James Liao for his long-running study on how dead trout can swim. Okay. In probability, to a team of 50 researchers for performing 350,757 experiments to show that when a coin is flipped, it is slightly more likely to land on the same side as it started.
Okay.
And physiology, to Takanori Takebe for finding that several mammals can breathe through their anus.
I've read this one as well, yeah.
And bringing it right back around to the Ig Nobel Peace Prize of 2024, which went to B.F. Skinner, posthumously awarded for a study on housing live pigeons inside missiles to guide them to their targets.
Okay.
So, I would definitely recommend checking out the Wikipedia page for the list of Ig Nobel Prize recipients. It is a laugh and a half, and it does actually make you think. So, better to go and check it out. It's just a lot of fun. You can easily spend a half an hour going through the wormhole on this one, or the rabbit hole rather.
Love that. Okay. This was hilarious. And actually, thankfully, gives me a lovely segue as well.
Ooh.
So my next question has to do with something that makes you laugh and then makes you think.
Okay.
But this is obviously way older than the Ig Nobel Prizes. This has to do with an English poet best known for The fairy queen, and the fairy is spelled F-A-E-R-I-E, and queen is spelled Q-U-E-E-N-E.
Okay.
This is an epic poem and fantastical allegory celebrating the Tudor dynasty and Elizabeth I.
Okay.
Do you know who this poet is, Vineet?
I am familiar with the poem, at least in the name. Some Edmund something, I don't remember it exactly, but I think it is.
Always blowing my mind. Edmund Spenser, yes.
Edmund Spenser, yeah.
So, like I said, he had written his most famous poem celebrating the Tudor dynasty and Elizabeth I, right? This brings me to when the Queen told her treasurer, William Cecil, to pay Spenser £100 for his poetry.
Okay.
The treasurer, however, objected that the sum was too much.
Okay.
She then said, then give him what is X or dash, okay? Then give him what is dash.
Okay.
Without receiving his payment in due time, Spenser gave the Queen a quatrain.
Okay.
After hearing this, the Queen immediately ordered the treasurer to pay Spenser the original £100.
Okay.
Now, I will obviously tell you what the quatrain is, but that I'll keep as a first hint. Do you already perhaps have a guess as to what phrase comes from this quatrain? What famous phrase? We go back to my first question type. What famous phrase?
Nothing comes to mind right now. No.
Okay. So let me tell you the first 2 lines of the quatrain, okay?
Okay.
I was promised on a time to have a reason for my rhyme. From that time unto the season, and then the last line is the phrase.
From that time unto the season. So something that ends with maybe reason?
Ooh, very interesting. Okay, so let me actually connect it back to that first dash or blank that I had left, which was what the Queen said to the treasurer when the treasurer said that £100 is too much. She said, quote, then give him what is reason.
Okay.
Okay, let me repeat the first 3 lines again. I was promised on a time to have a reason for my rhyme. From that time unto the season, fill in the blank for the last line, which will also be roughly the phrase that we today know.
I see no reason.
No. A more, let's say, proverbial things.
No, I'm confusing 2 poems altogether. I see no reason why this reason should ever be forgot.
Oh.
remember the 5th of November.
Yes.
The gunpowder treason and plot. Okay, now my brain is, that poem is in my head now, so it's not going to leave.
The moment you say that, I just picture V for Vendetta and that V speech.
Yes. That was a masterclass in writing.
I might have said this in the past, but I'm going to say this again. A shout out to one of our guest quiz masters. Sai knows that speech verbatim.
I see what you did there.
As a pun. But yes, he knows the speech verbatim. The entire V speech.
Okay, so he knows that verbatim. That does not help me in this question.
And funnily enough, Sai's full name is Sai Visesh Suresh. And a few of his friends used to call him Sai V Suresh, or V just for short.
That's very impressive on Sai's part, but gives me absolutely nothing to work with here. So I'm guessing the ending is still reason. Actually, no reason, no. From this until the season. No rhyme or reason.
Perfect. Yes, it is rhyme and reason.
Oh, nice.
Let's just tie it up neatly with a bow on top. Because the Queen said, when the treasurer objected saying £100 is too much, the Queen said, give him what is reason. A reason being what is reasonable.
Okay.
When Edmund Spenser did not receive his payment and he was pissed off about it, he wrote this quatrain for the Queen. He said, I was promised on a time to have a reason for my rhyme. From that time unto the season, I received nor rhyme nor reason.
Nice.
And that is the famous phrase, neither rhyme nor reason.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
I did not know that Edmund Spenser was responsible for rhyme and reason. That's TIL to T for me. Which brings me in no particular way, apart from the fact that this question is also made up of words, to a question which was sent to us by a friend of the podcast, one Mr. Udayon Sen, who sent me a very, very frankly impressive set of questions. So, Udayon Sen, thank you. I hope I'm not butchering your name. He sent me a fantastic question, which I'm now posing to you. In the Egyptian hieroglyphic records, the name of this place appears as Klebni, with records going back to the 4th dynasty pharaoh, Sneferu. It was also referred to as Gubla in the Akkadian cuneiform Amarna letters to Amenhotep. Which place is this, which is in present-day Keserwan Jablil Governorate of Lebanon, and what did it inspire?
Where in Lebanon did you say?
It's in the Keserwan Jablil Governorate of Lebanon.
Oh, and is it a city? Is it a town?
It's a place. It's a town, come city. I don't know how big it is, but let's call it a city for now. At least it used to be considered a city in the ages past.
Okay. No, I'll need a hint. I have no idea whatsoever.
Okay, so in the past, it was known by a different name in Greek. And that Greek word is very familiar to us today. And this city was a Phoenician city and was important for their import of papyrus out of ancient Egypt. And so much so that the name of the city came to mean papyrus in Greek.
Ooh, interesting. Papyrus in Greek. Greek is definitely very poor. Something to do with pages, something to do with...
Keep thinking.
Something to do with pages, something to do with books, because again, the Greek libraries are very famous.
Very close.
Oh, close. Libro? Libro is Spanish for book, though.
Yes, it's a Romance language. It's Latin. I think Libro comes from Latin. But you're somewhat in the same area. You lost track a little bit. Maybe look for another word. Think of the French word for library.
Oh, isn't it biblio something? Bibliothèque or something like that?
Yes.
So, that's book, bibliography. Is that something? Biblo?
Yes. You've got it. So the name of the place was Byblos.
Ah, interesting.
So the city, which was known in ancient Egyptian as Klebni, and which also was known by other names such as Gubla, it was known in Greek as Byblos, and to the Romans also as Byblus. And now this city was important for the import of papyrus out of ancient Egypt, to the extent that Byblos came to mean papyrus in Greek, and from which we get bibliophile, bibliothèque, biblioteca in some other Romance languages. And the English word Bible also comes from this particular city. So the place, the Bible traces its root word to this place called Byblos, which is also called Jabil.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So hence it's in the Keserwan Jabil Governorate of Lebanon.
Pretty cool. Okay.
I would like to thank again Udayon Sen for that fantastic question. I did not know this, and it was a complete TIL to me, and I found it fascinating that one city, just because it was responsible for papyrus, which was a writing, pages were made from papyrus, and that became the root word for almost everything descriptive regarding books, bibliothèque, bibliophile, even the Bible, which is the book. People call it the book, the Bible.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, of course, I had made the connection to Bible, bibliography, bibliothèque, but that comes with the name of a place is fascinating TIL for me today. Love that. Yeah, nice question. Okay, since I inadvertently, without planning it, I ended up doing 3 questions about phrases.
Oh, okay.
Because the first one was about making lemonade when life gives you lemons. Then it was about have a break, have a Kit Kat. And the third one, obviously, was rhyme and reason. I'm going to do another proverbial phrase. Let me tell you about a monument. And this is the Millennium Aureum, or the Golden Milestone, which was probably made of marble or gilded bronze and was erected by Emperor Augustus near the Temple of Saturn in the Central Forum of ancient Rome.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to tell you. Tell me what proverbial phrase owes its origin to this particular monument.
So the Millennium Aureum, you mentioned.
Millennium Aureum, or Golden Milestone.
So millennium is milestone?
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Millennium, not millennium, millennium.
Okay, millennium.
Yeah, millennium.
Millennium Aureum, okay. Makes more sense. Yes, millennium milestone, yes.
Mm.
And so you have the Millennium Aureum by Augustus.
Mm.
And it was a building, you said, right? It's a monument.
It was a monument. It was probably not made of gold and instead made of marble or gilded bronze.
Yeah, makes sense.
And it was erected by Emperor Augustus, near the Temple of Saturn in the Central Forum of ancient Rome.
Augustus built a monument to or near Saturn, right? You mentioned it's near Saturn.
Mm.
Okay. Augustus was first. He was Octavian, right? You're talking about Octavian, which is also known as Augustus. He was Caesar's nephew, I'm guessing.
Also known as Octavian, yes.
Okay. Milestone, something to do with distance, a mile?
Not to do with specifically miles, but yes, something to do with closely to distance, I guess, or not too far.
Okay. The Saturn thing, I'm guessing, must have something to do with it.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with the Temple of Saturn specifically.
Okay. No, I'm going to need some kind of clue. I'm sorry.
All right. Let me give you one more example of distances in the Roman Empire were measured relative to this particular monument.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is like the center point. This is like Greenwich.
That should lead you to the answer, yeah.
So distances were measured. All roads lead to Rome.
Exactly. All roads lead to Rome.
Oh, nice. So that came from this particular monument, or was it carved?
Exactly, yeah. Because on it perhaps were listed all the major cities in the empire and distances to them. So they were supposed to all be connected to this particular monument.
Wow.
Not just Rome, but to this particular monument in the Central Forum of ancient Rome.
Nice.
And the phrase all roads lead to Rome, according to the 19th century historian Philip Scaff, comes from the fact that the Millennium Aureum was that central point in the Roman Empire where everything was measured from.
Or, hear me out here. It could be the fact that modern day roads were introduced by the Romans, and so technically they built everything so that things could be taken back to Rome. So regardless of whether that monument was there or not, all roads would lead to Rome.
Perhaps, but hey, there is definitely something that existed which had probably the distances measured in all Roman Empire to this particular point. So
yeah, I'm guessing you'd need something like that to explain why both Russell Crowe and so Paul Mescal and they ended up in Rome anyway, regardless if one came from North Africa and whatnot. I just did not like the second movie. It made no sense to me. And therefore, I shall not be recommending it as a pop culture recommendation.
But before we get to the pop culture recommendation, we need your last question.
Yes, so my last and final question for this episode is as follows. It is said to be the most documented human life in history. Which inventor and architect kept a detailed scrapbook of his life that he updated obsessively from 1917 to 1983? The resulting log, called the Dymaxion Chronophile, its contents cross-referenced in 13,500 index cards, stacks 270 feet, that is 82 meters, and is housed at Stanford University.
Holy hell, that is a lot of documentation.
Oh, yeah.
This is Dymaxion Chronophile. Is that what you said?
Yes, the Dymaxion Chronophile.
And you said something in the early 1900s to 1980s. Something,
1917 to 1983. I'll give you a little more information about the chronophile itself. It contains over 140,000 pieces of paper, 64,000 feet of film, 1,500 hours of audio tape, and 300 hours of video recording. It's cross-referenced alphabetically using 13,500 5x8-inch index cards.
Wow, okay. Because we were talking about obsessive behaviors, I was going to say Nikola Tesla, but obviously the timeline doesn't fit that.
Timeline does not match.
Yeah, and I doubt there's any video recordings of Tesla.
No, I think there are photographs. I think there may be a video recording possibility. I don't want to completely say it's not possible, but yeah, there may be.
How many hours did you say?
So the total number of hours that we are talking about include 300 hours of video recordings and 1,500 hours of audio tape. The clue here would be to focus on Dymaxion.
Dymaxion.
I'm going to explain that clue because it's a little vague. So Dymaxion was a term coined by this person and associated with much of his work. It's a portmanteau of dynamic, maximum and tension.
Okay.
So among this person's inventions include a Dymaxion house, Dymaxion car, a Dymaxion deployment unit, a Dymaxion map, which I found quite interesting.
Okay. Wait, he has invented quite a few different things. Okay.
Oh yeah, he's extremely famous. You definitely would have heard of him. If I were to describe who he was, I would describe him as an inventor, architect, systems theorist, writer, designer, inventor, philosopher, and futurist.
Architect. Okay. Because so far I was just thinking inventor, but suddenly he's an architect also.
A very intelligent person as well. Served as the second world president of Mensa International from 1973 to 1983.
You should not have said that. Buckminster Fuller.
Very nice, very nice. You almost went to the graphite structure that he's named after, but yes.
Yes, he's named after Buckminster Fullerene. I know he's named after Buckminster Fullerene.
So Buckminster Fuller, who's a prolific inventor, I think most people would know him from his design of the geodesic dome, which is made from different polyhedrals. It's a triangular, made completely of triangles, if I'm not mistaken, right? So he is famous for that particular thing, but he's also famous for a lot of other things. As I mentioned, his map is quite interesting. There's a Dymaxion map that he invented, which is superior apparently to the kind of regular projection that we see.
Mercator projection.
Yes, the Mercator projections that we see grossly distort the relative sizes of continents and islands, which makes Greenland look almost as big as Africa.
I was just going to say that is one of the reasons apparently Trump really wants Greenland, because it just looks huge on a map.
But let's just put it this way, that his projection, which is called the Fuller projection or the Dymaxion map projection, is also, like his other inventions, made of polyhedrons. And it has the projection of the Earth onto the unfolded net of an icosahedron. Now, this is all going to be complete Greek to everybody who's listening. So just go online, type in Dymaxion map, that's Dymaxion. You'll see the projection and think, wow, no wonder this never became popular. Yeah, so very well guessed. You got it right. It is Buckminster Fuller.
I actually only got that because architect and Mensa. And maybe people don't know this, but I am part of Mensa International.
Oh, nice. Our boy has a recorded IQ of more than 140. Eat that, dumbos who are listening to this podcast.
Whatever that means, because I remember a friend of mine and I were obsessed with the idea, like, what is Mensa? And you're like, oh, it's the top 2% or 1% of quote-unquote intelligent people in the world. So we went and took that entrance exam, and it was really stupid. I don't even mean to brag or flex. It was just a dumb way to judge intelligence. I genuinely think it's a very ridiculous way to judge intelligence. We just happened to be good at it. And we were inducted in. After the first year, they started charging us some money, and we were like, you know what, I'm okay.
No, yeah, I mean, it is a club.
Yeah, I'm not part of it anymore, but I was part of it briefly, and I still have a t-shirt. It says Mensa International.
Nice. Basically, Aditya flexing once again.
Yeah, very much so.
Nice. Well done, by the way. Okay, now let's come back to our audience question, which I had asked at the beginning of today's episode, which is the largest crude oil producer in the world? Aditya, rapid fire. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
USA.
Okay, I was expecting you to say Saudi Arabia so that I could then tell you, of course, it is the USA. But since you got it, the USA, good for you. You knew that. Bye. But for the rest of you people, normal people who might have thought it would be Saudi Arabia, no, it's not. It's the USA. So the US is indeed the largest crude oil producer in the world. Since Aditya won't give me the satisfaction, I'm going to take vicarious satisfaction in the fact that at least a few of you listening to this podcast would have thought, obviously it's Saudi Arabia. But it's not. It's the USA.
There are 103 episodes any listener can go and listen to where they can yell at me when I don't get the most obvious of answers. This one just happens to be the exception.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the episode. But before we go, we have the balance of our pop culture recommendation. So Aditya, what is your pop culture recommendation for this week?
Okay, today is going to be an interesting recommendation series because I have to recommend 3 movies, actually a 4th special one, but first 3 movies which I went on a binge when I was in Abu Dhabi for a brief while. And I decided I want to check out the local content. So when I searched for movies that were Middle East or Arabic, they gave me 3 very amazing movies to watch. And I had heard of some of them I had not heard of. The first one is A Separation. Oh, what a brilliant film from a genuinely genius filmmaker, Asghar Farhadi. I believe that's how the name is pronounced. A Separation, Iranian film. Check it out. Amazing. Then there is Capernaum, which is a Lebanese film, I believe. And it stars a child actor who himself was a displaced person, was a refugee. And I think he was selected to act in this film. And my God, what a phenomenal actor. Phenomenal film. So check out Capernaum as well. And the third one is Incendies. Now, Incendies is, I believe, multinational production. I think there are a few countries involved in it. But a crux of the story is in the Middle East.
Cracker of an ending.
Oh, what an ending. It leaves you feeling a little, and that's the only way I can describe it. But yes, please go watch it. It'll make you cry. It'll make you feel things. It'll make you introspect. All 3 films actually will do all of those things. So watch A Separation, Capernaum, and Incendies. And the 4th film I'm going to say is actually because something interesting happened in my life recently. And something related to the episode. We mentioned Greek a few times in this episode. And my sister recently got married and her fiance and now husband is from Greece. So I'm going to recommend my big fat Greek wedding just because she got married to a Greek person recently. I couldn't be happier for both my sister and her now husband. And my big fat Greek wedding, for those of you who want to watch what her wedding did not look anything like that. They did a very low-key thing, but hey, if they had done something like that, you can go watch what an alternate universe wedding would have looked like in the My Big Fat Greek Wedding. So 4 movies to watch. Check those out.
Okay. Congratulations to your sister and her newlywed status and her husband. And I'm kind of envious of the fact that now you have a brother-in-law in Greece, which makes your travel umbrella even larger than it used to be. So good for you. And congratulations to your sister. So yes, my envy does not show at all. My recommendation for this week is a show on Netflix, which released a couple of months ago. The show is called American Primeval. Have you seen it, Aditya?
Ooh, I've seen it on the recommendation. I've not watched it yet.
Yes. So American Primeval was written and directed by Peter Berg. If you're familiar with a lot of the recent Mark Wahlberg movies, you may be familiar with Peter Berg. And let me tell you that this man, single-handedly, through the show, will dispel any impressions you've had about what we call the quote-unquote Wild West.
Oh.
From what we grew up, when we grew up, the 80s and the 90s, our impressions of the Wild West were from movies where they did show a little bit of the brutal side, but it was always, the worst you saw was Sergio Leone movies, right? The conditions were described as being a little dark and whatnot. However, it did feel a little sanitized. American Primeval kind of shows you exactly what life during that time was like, and it is brutal. There are certain scenes which are extremely difficult to watch, but I think it does point out a major part of American history which has been, let's say, toned down and seen through rose-colored glasses by many, and this just shows it to you in stark cinemascope. It's a fantastic show. But be warned, it's not for the faint of heart. And because I also mentioned Peter Berg, I believe there was a movie of his called Mile 22, which I'm personally a big fan of, because it's one of those mindless entertainers that I can watch anytime. And there are some fantastic set pieces in it. So definitely we'll check out Mile 22 and American Primeval. And those are my pop culture recommendations for this week. And that's all the time we have for today's episode. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show and learned something new. If you liked what you heard, please consider subscribing to our podcast and leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform, because it helps us reach a wider audience and allows more people to enjoy and discover the show. We'd also love to hear for your feedback, suggestions, even trivia. Like Udayan Sen, who you can send questions to us that you want asked on the show. Just send us the questions at areyoukquizzingme@gmail.com with the name of the quizmaster in the subject line. You can also join our community on Reddit, which is r/areyoukquizzingme. and on Instagram at @RUQuizzingMe. We appreciate your support and look forward to sharing more episodes with you in the future. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great day. And once again, I want to say congratulations to Aditya's sister for her recent wedding. Though by the time most of you would have heard this, she would have been well past her honeymoon and would be thinking, why the hell is this guy wishing me 5-6 months after my wedding? But congratulations anyway.
See you guys next week.